Welcome to Steps to the Stage, a 7th Street Community Theater podcast. Welcome to Steps to the Stage, a 7th Street Community Theater podcast, where we talk to the community theater professionals you know and love. My name is Producer Kirk. I'm your guest host today, and we are so excited to have our director of the Molehill Stories, Jesse Pyle, back with us for what is probably your 5th plus interview.
Maybe 4th or 5th. I think so.
Especially if you include the drama department episode that we recently did. So we're so glad that you're back with us. And I'm excited to talk about this production only because, we haven't had something like this in a while where we've had real littles making it happen. So why don't you give us the background on deciding on this and the story itself, and then we can get into a little bit about the production.
Absolutely. Well, to begin with, I was lucky enough to direct a production of Luchadora at my school this past year, written by Alvaro Sarrios, who is the person who wrote this play as an adaptation of 3 different children's short stories by Lois Ehlert.
Okay.
So we have Mole's Hill, we have Cuckoo, and we have Moonrope. And these are all 3 beautiful children's stories. They have different backgrounds and gorgeous, gorgeous illustrations that she did herself based on different indigenous and native artwork. And they are gloriously told and just true to the simplicity of a children's story. And then they have been re-outfitted as a play in 3 parts that is bilingual and speaks to, the diversity of friendship and growth and nature. And it's really a celebration of both culture and communication. And I just love it.
And so you discovered this through the play you did with Ontario, or had you known about it prior?
So I hadn't known this play specifically yet, but I knew of Alvaro Sarrios.
Okay.
And so when I was looking for something that I wanted to explore, I looked straight to what else he had done.
Okay.
And also what would serve this community here. And, the city of Chino has a dynamic,
very
diverse background.
Yes.
And also, our children's theater really started back in 1984 with a true community atmosphere. And we did a lot of straight plays, as we call them at the time, plays without music. And those plays were kind of the backbone of things. So we did Emperor's New Clothes and The Princess and the Pea and all of these shows that were really about getting the community involved and less about huge spectacle, although if you look at our stage, wow.
Yeah, it's
amazing.
Beautiful. It really is.
Right.
I saw the post recently, but I just went out before we recorded to take a look at it. And it always blows me away that you can blink in an eye and all of a sudden we've transformed our little theater into this new beautiful landscape. So
Exactly. So I wanted to embrace the idea of play and of creating something as an ensemble and try it with a younger group of people. One, so that I could incorporate my own son, hopefully, if he did well at auditions, which he did. But also hoping that people would come out of the woodworks for this to audition. Now, it's a tough time slot because it was the end of the school year.
Right.
Summer was coming up. There's other shows in the lineup.
Camps are going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we didn't have the biggest turnout ever, but we had a beautiful turnout of cast members, and half of the cast has never been in a show before.
That's so amazing. And really, that's what our camps and these types of productions are for, is to introduce families into the wonderful world of community theater. Let's talk a little bit about casting, as well as if you can talk about your team that you're working with, because obviously we love that we collaborate so much with a variety of different people on our production teams, but also with our cast as well. So why don't you get into that a little bit?
Yeah. So there were people, the second that the season was announced, who came up to me and said, "Oh, Miss Jessie, I really want to help you out. I really want to be a part of your team in some way." And so I put out a little Google form of what would you like to help with and how would you like to help and how much experience do you have or not.
Right.
And I got a great number of both kids and adults who wanted to be a part of this process, which was such an honor. And I invited in 3 different student directors. Only 2 were able to actually commit to the time slot, and they have been fabulous. So I have Sebastian Olguin, who is also my student at Ontario High School and is doing fantastic work this summer all over the place. He worked on the first story of this series within the play, Mole's Hill. And I have Maya Mansour, who is new-ish to the theater, but actually she's just doing everything
involved
here.
In so many great things.
So she feels like we've known her for 10 years, but I really think it's been much shorter. And she directed Moon Rope, which is the final piece of the play, with my support, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
And she is also going to be our production stage manager. So she's diversifying her portfolio so much just in this short little amount of time.
And Sebastian was part of the Superstars group and was also, I know I had the pleasure of recently seeing him in your production of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory that he just did fantastic in. So that's, I love that we have that outreach, not only to the local schools, but then within our theater here and the variety of different offerings that we have. So.
Yeah, and they are both extremely talented performers.
Yeah.
But we all know that performing and directing are 2 different forms of artistry.
Absolutely.
And they were very willing to learn and collaborate and grow. And they came up with some really great ideas. So I know it'll be a beautiful thing for everyone to come and see.
And what I love about this is, especially my children have been involved in the theater and are now directing and producing and doing getting their education, is that when you offer these types of opportunities, they maybe started as actors, but now they get into that directing or that stage management, and then they find out the intricacies of it all, right? It's like when you're a parent and as you raise your child, you start going, oh, I understand now what my parents were saying to me or what they were feeling at the time. But more importantly is you're giving them that doorway or pathway to be our future directors and future producers and future adult actors. And so I love that we can give that particular opportunity to so many people within our little theater here.
Absolutely. That is the hope. And it's also the great gift of volunteering here is that if you're volunteering in a mentorship capacity, that you get to see those sparks or those lights light up for the first time and have someone build their confidence, their ownership of their craft in such unique ways. And it really is a beautiful gift to yourself to get to give that time and see those things happen.
Absolutely. So you talked about the set. Why don't we talk a little bit about that and that creation and the design behind it and the thoughts and obviously the beautiful outcome?
So I had already spoken about the gorgeous, gorgeous books themselves that these stories are based on. And the books are full of just beautiful, but also not completely on the nose designs, right? So there's some collaging, there's different kinds of intricate cutting work and patterns, and you'll see some of those things reflected in the stage itself. So Maya Tumbokin said that she was interested in becoming our set designer and that she thought she could have some time, but she's finishing up at USC.
Right.
So my dad, who is just phenomenal in his own right, Mr. Paul Larson, he said, well, whatever she needs help with, I will help, and I'll be the boots on the ground here, and I'll be able to build, and she can just communicate and then come in and do her beautiful artistic flair at the end. So Maya came up with this gorgeous set design using a lot of these bright and beautiful colors and textures, and Mr. Larson addressed all of the needs that came up during rehearsal. So, for example, they have to roll down the hill. And so we just had like this kind of request to, I don't know, can we find like a slide or some way that we can roll down something on our small stage?
I love that.
And so a slide appeared one day, and we have to climb up to the moon. So how are we going to do that? Well, what about this like rock climbing feature so that we can use the rope that we need to use in moon rope, but also have a safe, secure way for the kids to have feet grips, or whatever you call it. Because I'm not a rock climber.
That makes sense. Yes.
And we just have so many just really cool features like that where both sides said yes to each other, and we were able to collaborate in the rehearsal room, come up with ideas, and then the next day know that they were going to deliver.
And there was like nothing really to go off of, right? Because this is a newer production. It was, so you really just kind of came through that collaboration, you decided what that set was going to be.
Right. Ours is the very first amateur production of the show.
Okay.
So they have done shows at, I think, DePaul University. A couple other places have done productions of this, but it's been adults doing shows for children,
right?
Versus our production is true children's theater with children.
Got it. Now, I think I may have asked and then glossed over it, but let's go back to the auditions, because I don't think we talked about that your son is involved, but let's talk about the whole casting process and the rest of the cast.
Well, this is a different kind of show because often with a musical, you'll have kids come in and sing a song and learn a dance and whatnot. But this show is based on literature, and one character in particular rhymes every single line. So I asked for them to come with a prepared poem in either English or Spanish because it's a bilingual show as well. And boy, did these kids deliver. You would have thought I would have heard 20 Humpty Dumptys or something.
Yeah.
And
something familiar and basic
beautiful storytelling poems from every single performer, and none of them were the same. And quite a few of them were in Spanish.
How amazing.
And it was just delicious. It was so wonderful to experience and to have my student directors next to me, and I also had my student language coach next to me. And they were all in on the process. So not only did they get to see that kind of an audition, which doesn't happen much in children's theater.
Right.
You'll either do cold readings if it's a play without music, or you'll do monologues if it's with older kids. But for the youngers, coming in with memorized material, it really seemed like a way to level the playing ground. If I did get little ones, like my son, who is 4.
4.
Exactly.
That constitutes little.
Yes. And then as far as the cold readings go, we sent them out of the room to practice for a little bit, but they came back in and they performed their cold readings. So for Jasper, my son, we sent him out with my husband to work on stuff. And he came in fully memorized. Every time we sent him out with a little scene, he came back and he already knew it. So that was just a joy to be able to witness and to have like a proud mama moment, but also to sit back and go, okay, just because I'm proud of him doesn't mean that he is going to be the lead of this show, right? That's just, it's too much of an ask for a 4-year-old. And also for me, because you know the dynamics of a child and a mother or a father.
Yes.
But they just...
I've worked with my children. I've coached my children. And there is totally different mindsets you have to get yourself into, and you have to really, like, currently I work with my daughter occasionally, and there's that, okay, I'm the boss, but I'm still the dad, so how am I going to provide that environment to show that I trust what you're doing and that's why you're here, but I also still need to provide some guidance. So
and a 4-year-old is a whole different ball of wax. And this particular 4-year-old, he is so social and he's so excited to be around people because he's kind of not been around people as much.
Right, especially and I appreciate that with so much of my heart, knowing everything that you have gone through as a family, but all of that has shown through so much, and this is just a great way to celebrate that journey. So that's fantastic. And the rest of the cast?
The rest of the cast, wow, it's so fun to see because we have true newbies who are in leading roles.
And you mentioned almost half the cast.
Yes,
first time.
Six out of 12 are completely new to performance. This will be all of their opening nights.
That is incredible.
And then the other 6 really don't have that much experience behind them, but they have a good amount because they're a little on the younger side, and they just don't have as much experience. And I feel like the growth that they have had, but also the growth that this show affords with creativity of creating characters, but we're not playing an actual fox or an actual raccoon or an actual skunk like on our hands and knees, because the audience can't see that.
Right.
Right? So we have to have some suspension of disbelief. And that made it fun for costuming too. Segue into my mama was the costumer. It's a true family affair.
Love that.
And she had some great support both from parents in the show, family members in the show, and also Kathy Miller, who often helps with costumes. And it's just beautifully done. It's exactly the way I wanted it, where it's a humanized version of that character, and the abilities, the style of that particular character, like the characterization in human form. So we've got lots of overalls and beautiful dresses. We've got some goddess energy with the moon and the tree and the lake, all kind of representing different elements in their own way. I just love it. It's beautiful for the eyes. It's definitely a feast.
And how fantastic, again, as you mentioned, that it really was a family situation where you get to work so closely with the founders of our theater and obviously having your son involved and so many other friends and family that you've been around for many years. And
if you didn't know, my first show was 1890s Music Hall Review, and I was 3.
Wow.
So Jasper was technically 3 when we cast, don't let anyone know. And he turned 4 just shortly thereafter.
Perfect.
So really this feels like a full circle moment in so many ways. I also think this is a great entry-level show for audience members because it's broken up into 3 short stories, and we have the breathing room of being able to have like ambiance and story, but it's not super complex, and it's a feast for the eyes, like we said before. So really, I think that any age group, from the youngest to the oldest, is going to be able to just enjoy each beautiful story for what it is, and the celebration of nature and friendship, like I talked about before. But really, it's for all ages to come and see. They'll be able to enjoy the bite-sized business of it.
And so 3 stories, is it then, is it presented as 3 separate stories with the beginning, middle, end, then the next story, or is that part of the sauce that we're going to learn when we watch it?
Well, when you come, you'll kind of notice that there is a little bit of a through line that goes through all of them.
Okay.
So characters will repeat in some of the stories, and the beginning of one story starts out, or the end of one story, apologies, is the beginning of the next story, but they are standalone in their own way. And in that way, it'll be easy for someone to not feel like, oh, I'm not following this story, right? It's one complete story, one complete story, one complete story, but with familiar characters throughout.
And then just from the theater perspective, then is it a 1-act intermission, or is it 3 acts, or is it one continuous with no intermission?
Well, we have like a little bit of a built-in break for the youngers as far as that goes. So there are 2 small breaks, but it's definitely, it could be played as a whole, but the way that we have it set up, people will be able to take those breathers if they need them.
Now, something near and dear to my heart, obviously, is the technology side of things. Mm-hmm. So how are you incorporating sound and lighting into the beautiful design on stage?
Well, speaking of my awesome theater program, I have a recent graduate, Laura Madrigal, who agreed to come back. She's done a couple of things at the community theater before, but she agreed to come back in lighting design this show. And she is just a whiz at putting looks together, but also the backdrop of these colorful, the colorful stage and the moon especially. She's just been able to make like a stained glass look, the moon waxing and waning, turning into the sun with like the flip of a switch. It's just, she's incredible. And I'm so proud of her. And I'm super, super excited for her to, go on to Cal Poly Pomona and keep, exploring what she's going to do in life. But I'm just so happy she took the time to stick with me a little bit longer after the school year was out.
That's wonderful.
And then on sound, Sophie Colby, who has run sound before, asked if she
I've worked
could
with
try.
her several times.
Yeah, so under
and
your
acted with her.
There you go. So under your mentorship and many others, she asked if she could be a part of the process, and I said, "Well, do you think you could handle a little sound design?" And so she had a great time sampling some things and helping to create the ambiance and the environment that we need with soundscapes at different moments, songs at different moments. And she had a great time, and she had some wonderful support. But our lighting technician and our sound technician are brand new to the boards as well. So we have Nico and Gwyn doing their very first versions of design of tech work there.
That's amazing. Yeah. And that's, obviously it's what I do for a living and get to travel around, but it's like anything, but especially in the tech world, you just have to do it. So it's great that you're giving those opportunities. So
yeah, and backstage, like I said, Maya is going to be stage managing, and she was the director, student director, so she knows it very well. But I also have some of my students from Ontario, Exidi Felix, who designed the props, is the assistant stage manager, and then Len and Berlin are doing their first time run crew here.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Any other people you want to mention or things that you want to bring up to let our audience know so that they know they're coming to an amazing production?
Well, I'm so grateful for the support of our producer, Sochi, Neri, Estrella, and for our speech coach or our language coach, Addison Estrella. And I just think it's going to be such a beautiful production, but it's only 2 weeks long.
Okay, so let's talk about dates.
Yeah. So we open on Friday the 13th. Yep. Is that right? Is it
Friday the 13th?
That's, it's such a lucky, auspicious day. There you go. So Friday the 13th and Saturday the 14th. Sunday the 15th is Father's Day, and it's a nice, just little delicious Father's Day treat, I believe. My husband will be coming, and that will be the only matinee. It's at 2:30.
Okay.
And then the following Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, also at 7 o'clock.
Wonderful. And I know my family's planning on attending on Father's Day as well.
Oh, my goodness.
I'll be spending Father's Day with you.
As you're wearing your dad cords.
I am wearing my dad cords. Exactly.
See it.
It's coming up. So that's great. And how do we go about getting tickets?
You can get tickets from the Chino Community or ChinoChildren'sTheater.org website, and then you'll click on Seat Yourself, and you can get tickets there. You can also follow at CCCT Buzz on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok to be able to find out more about the show.
Got it. And I think you can call the box office as well.
At 909-590-1149.
Exactly. And if it's the last minute, we might be able to get a ticket for you at the door as well.
Absolutely.
So
just come on by.
We really would love for you to come out this upcoming weekend and the following weekend and enjoy this amazing production, which is new to the amateur stage. That's fantastic. We have new actors. We have new people part of the production crew. So thank you so much, Jesse, for being here and taking some time out of your day to talk to us and share a little bit about the experience. And we're really looking forward to see this beautiful story.
Thank you, Kirk. It was my pleasure. I hope everyone comes out and gives it a chance. It's going to be a beautiful show.
The Molehill Stories, everyone. Please come out and support your local community theater. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Steps to the Stage, a 7th Street Community Theater podcast. Follow us on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review and a 5-star rating. It really helps. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Special thanks to Chino Community Theater and Chino Community Children's Theater for their generous support. And very special thank you to the listeners. Steps to the Stage was created by Joey Rice and Kirk Lane. Logo created by Marley Lane. Original music by Joey Rice. Your host, Marley Lane. Engineer and producer, Joey Rice. Engineer and executive producer, Kirk Lane.